What's going on, everybody? It is Chris Aiken from the Classic Metal Show, as well as Aftershocks TV, and just wanted to remind you before we get to this next episode that my first ever book, Little Victories, A Tale of Divorce, Debauchery, and Finding Happiness, is still available on Amazon.com and at my website, Chris Aiken Books. If you're going through a divorce or a bad breakup or whatever, this is going to be surprising because it's not just me telling dick jokes, but it's a fun book, but it's a very heartfelt book, and it's one that, if you've gone through anything ugly, you can definitely relate to it, and maybe it'll help you get through it if you're going through it right now. So check it out, Little Victories. It is available now, Amazon.com or Chris Aiken Books. Know what else is available right now? This episode that you actually came here to see. All right. Well, here we go. Welcome to another episode of Aftershocks at AfterShocksTV.com on the CMS Podcast Network. And joining us on this episode, we've got one of metal's most notorious lead guitarists who's here to talk about the sophomore release from his band, Joel Hoekstra's 13. It's titled Running Games. It comes out February 12th on Frontiers Music. It's the man himself, Mr. Joel Hoekstra. What's going on, Joel? Thanks for coming on with us.
Hey, thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's get right to it, man, to the new record, Running Games. It's an excellent follow-up to the first record, Dying to Live, and I'm sure you're dying to play live in support of it, but obviously, can't do that right now, but hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. You'll be able to. And so once again, you got the 18 back in the fold on this record with Russell, Vinny, Tony, Jeff, Derek. I mean, they're all back again, just like they were on the first record, Dying to Live. And, that's something that's not, I guess, easy to do, is to put out two records in succession with the same all-star lineup like that, because normally everyone's, real busy and it's hard to get everyone's schedules to match. So I guess just start us off by talk a bit about the completion of the record. I mean, did having, all this downtime off due to the pandemic, did it give you and the rest of the band the time to put this record together, or was this ready to go and was pushed back, because of the pandemic?
No, I mean, it definitely helped having the downtime to do it. For myself and for Russell mainly, Vinny and Tony had been done for a little bit on it. Russell took some time. I mean, he had an accident during TSO rehearsals where he'd fallen off the stage, and so he was laid up for a while, and that kind of put him out of commission. So there was all kinds of drama surrounding finishing this, but it took a pandemic, and then finally got it done. But definitely super happy to have the lineup back on this one, like you mentioned, and it gives it a sound. It gives it some consistency, so it's not like under the same moniker, the next album sounds completely different. I wanted to, do something along the same lines and hopefully just make it a little better, right? Sure. I don't know, try and learn from past mistakes as we always do in whatever we do. And so, there you go, man. But I thankfully, it gave me the time to finish my guitars. I mean, I was super busy, dude. The year before all this hit, I was on the road 285 days out of the year. Wow. So it was definitely a little crazy. And you could cut this stuff in hotel rooms, but there's something about at least having the focus of being at home that helps.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. I read that you stated that Running Games is more focused and more mature than Dying to Live was. Why do you say that? Why is that so?
I don't know if I said that. I don't know if I actually said that. I think maybe it was
in the press release.
I think maybe more. I think more focused sounding. I don't know about more mature. I think Dying to Live was plenty mature. Sure. I would say the focus thing. Yeah, I mean the label didn't want it to be all over the place. Okay. So the last album, I think, with the bonus tracks, I mean, I was starting out really, really heavy when I was writing this Dying to Live. The first song was Kill or Be Killed. I mean, it was like, like complete like Metallica. And but I was thinking, look, I got Vinny Appice and I got Russell Allen. Like, let's, have some super heavy stuff. And then it just kind of became clear what the sound was of it as made Dying to Live. So like I took those fringe songs and just kind of, I guess there was one of the songs that was a little bluesier that became the other bonus track for that. So it was like, let's figure out what the sound is. And that really kind of became that Dio-ish at its heaviest, Foreigner-ish at its lightest is what I call this stuff. Okay. know, it's for me, it's like the heavy, but it still has the melody, right? So that's the common bond with all that stuff. Like cool, you know, hard rock and stuff, but like, you know, Foreigner's not like a metal band. They're like a, you know, blues influence hard rock band, right?
Sure, yeah.
So anyway, that's where it's at. That's where it's at. It lives in that world. I just put it in the obvious comparison world for everybody to be able to go, oh, okay, cool, because that's what people want to hear. They'd rather hear that than like it's, you know, melodic hard rock riffs. You know, they want to hear like Dio-ish to Foreigner-ish. Okay, cool, thank you. That describes it.
Okay, totally. Well, one of the other challenging things about, I guess, releasing music during these, you know, challenging times is when it comes to doing a video. And I know you just put out a really cool animated one for the track Finish Line. That was done by Wayne Joyner, who's done work for bands like, you know, Dream Theater and Stryper, just to name a few. Tell us a bit about the making of that video and how much input, if any, did you have in putting that together?
I mean, you know, Wayne pretty much just did it. I mean, I gave him a rundown of like the meaning behind the lyrics and everything, but he pretty much just took that upon himself and just hit it out of the park, man. He's a very talented guy. Did a great job with it. I can't take much credit for that. I mean, that's all on him. I mean, he sent me a rough draft, like a storyboard kind of thing, and then maybe I guess the first minute or so of it, and you know, and then along the line I maybe tweaked a couple things and just said like, hey, could you try this or whatever, but that's it. I mean, he basically just nailed it. He did a great job, man. So
yeah, it's a really, it's a cool video. Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Nice job by Wayne.
Yeah. I agree. Well, I mean, Joe, you know, one of the other things to me that stands out on both of the releases for 13 is the overall production and mixing. You, of course, you know, I know handled the production duties for both records. And then you also brought in Chris Collier, who was, you know, one of the best, I think, engineers in metal these days. And, you know, he's done the mixing on both the records. And everyone who I've interviewed, you know, who's worked with Chris before, you know, they can't say enough good things about him and the magic that tends to sort of illuminate on the records that he works on. What is it about working with Chris that makes him, for you, the go-to guy when you want to put together these records for the band?
Well, Chris is really, really talented and gets great sounds. He does a great job of heavying up my records, right? Like I'm the guy that, being a guitar player, you start to focus on the bells and whistles a little bit, like the overdubs and all but that little part, you know, he's like, Chris is great at making it. Like, no, dude, kick, snare, rhythm guitar, vocal, you know, like, so he toughens up the records, which I dig. And, the main thing that I really like about him is he's not one of these guys that goes, no, man, like it's my way or the highway. So when we work together, he'll take my 10 million notes, and because you know, I tend to really get into the mixing thing. I think it's an instrument unto itself, really. You know, it's like you can tweak and do things are probably the most valuable instrument, really. At the end of the day, it's really a relief when you get everything recorded. You can just focus on mixing with him, and he's so capable and quick and great with sounds, and just like I said, a nice dude, easy to work with. So that, you know, he's awesome, man. Love Chris.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like I said, everything I've heard from him has been top notch with his mixes. You know, and speaking of producing, you know, a lot of times we hear that it's, you know, people say all the time, it's not really wise for an artist to produce, you know, his or her own music, and that having a voice outside of the inner workings of the band is vital because it's, you know, I guess some of the personal biases that one has for their own music, and does he or she is unable to hear things that maybe need to be added in or taken out of a song when it's called for. For you now, you know, having produced both records, what's your take on that theory of not producing one's own music? Obviously you don't agree with it because you're doing your own music, but in your opinion and experiences, is there any validity in that theory? And I mean, have you ever, for instance, thought to yourself that, you know, maybe I should have done something different, you know, on a record after the final product was released to the public and you were able to sort of hear it with fresh ears again?
Well, I mean, I love working with producers and people that have vision and working creatively with them, you know. There's something to be said for it, but really, I mean, to be honest, I think one of the main things that I really dig about doing these is I finally get to do that. So, I mean, that's kind of what these albums are about. This, you might have noticed, it's not about the 5-minute guitar solos for me on this.
Sure,
it's really the opportunity for me to like write the tunes, write the parts. Like, I mean, I'm writing the lyrics and the vocal melodies and everything. So it's really like, you know, my opportunity to kind of be the boss for a minute, you know? And I mean, not that I actually dig not being the boss too. It's not like I sit around, you know, the entirety of my career going, gee, I wish I was in charge, you know, but it's nice. It's fun, but it's fun to do that sometimes, I think, you know? So for me, that's the charm in these albums. I get to do that.
Okay. No, absolutely, man. You know, you've obviously played alongside, you know, so many great, you know, guitarists over the years. You know, obviously, just coming to mind, Brad Gillis and Red Beach are the two that immediately come to mind from your time in both, you know, Night Ranger and Whitesnake. For an artist who is as renowned and skilled as you are on your instrument, I mean, when it comes to creating music and playing live alongside other well-renowned musicians in general, how do you personally, you know, balance being able to sort of present your musical prowess, especially when it comes to playing in a live setting? I mean, without sort of, you know, overstepping, you know, your boundaries, I guess, or overshadowing the other player, especially if the other player is an original or long-term, you know, member of the band, because that's got to be real challenging to have to sort of, you know, hold back maybe a bit when you know, what you're capable of presenting to an audience.
Yeah, that's a hard one, man. I mean, you know, I just kind of always just roll with everything that comes my way and do the best I can. And that's you know, working with Gillis, great. You know, he and I had this big brother, little brother thing, you know, lots of fun. I was real green when I joined the band, and Brad was lots of fun. I mean, we made it the 80s again in 2008, man. I mean, we had a blast. And working with Reb, lots of laughs, amazing technique, and we can replicate a lot of what each other can do with the tapping stuff and the legato stuff, and play in harmony, which is cool, real quick. And he's a great rhythm guitar player, great background vocalist. So we got a nice little chemistry happening in Whitesnake right now with this lineup. We've been together now for what, 6-7 years, this lineup. So it's nice to have that consistency, and we come from all different places. I mean, you got Tommy Aldridge, who's on, you know, the rock god mountain, right? And I don't know what you call it, but you know, he's a rock god, right?
There,
and David, you know, these iconic dudes, and Reb, who himself sold millions of albums, was on MTV and all that stuff. And then you got guys like me, who are the newer generation guys coming into the band, and Michele and Michael Devin, and you know, I bring a lot of enthusiasm to it because I'm just excited to be there, you know.
Sure.
So we got a nice mix. It's a cool groove being with those guys. Cool hang. We got a lot of different approaches to it all, but it all just comes together with good chemistry.
Awesome, man. Yeah, no, it sure is, man. I agree. You know, you obviously, you've got obviously a, you know, such an impressive resume out there in terms of the quality of artists that you've, you know, worked alongside with over the course of your career. In your opinion, and from your experiences joining and being part of such historic bands like, you know, like the two I mentioned, Whitesnake, Night Ranger, and TSO, and as well as doing your own thing with the quality musicians you have, you know, that make up Joel Hoekstra's 13, do you find there to be, I guess, more pressure doing your own thing with a band like 13, because these are your songs, your vision, obviously you produce it, you wrote everything, and thus the credit or blame will, you know, it'll be no doubt on your shoulders when all is said and done? Or is there more pressure when you're joining an already established entity like the bands we were just talking about? Because you're always going to be, obviously in that situation, you're always going to be compared to the, you know, the guitarists that were, you know, there before you, and thus probably a lot of either praise or the ire of the fans will sort of be coming your direction if you don't meet the standards, you know, the quote unquote standards that they expect you to meet.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's never really a ton of pressure in any of it, because you just do the best you can. But I get, if I were to truthfully answer, I'd say the bands, you know, more so, because I mean, more people listen to Whitesnake and are going to buy a Whitesnake album than are going to buy my album. So it just kind of comes down to, I guess, common sense with that, right? So yeah, and the history, having the history and all that, and but at the same time, man, you can never please everybody, and you just kind of do the best you can. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's just like anybody would do. What are you doing right now with this? You're doing the best you can with this interview. I'm answering the questions as best I can. It's like that, and it never stops, right? You go in to play on an album, it's the same approach. So I wouldn't say I necessarily feel like highly pressured in any of the situations. You know, David's great about just making us feel like, hey, just be you. Don't worry about being anybody else. And he's great with that. Very supportive guy. I mean, I love working with and for David, man. So I don't feel a lot of pressure with that. But if I had to pick one, I feel like no pressure with my albums because, you know, I'm at the end of the day, if I don't like it, I could just say I'm not putting that song out. It sucks or whatever, you know. So there's really not much to worry about with that. I would say I go from zero pressure to very gotcha. Like a little bit of pressure with
a tiny bit. Okay,
how about that?
Yeah. Sounds good, man. Well, ideally, you know, once things go back to some sort of type of, you know, semi-normalcy, and you're able to play live again. I mean, what are you envisioning right now in terms of doing once things open up? I mean, is there anything going on in terms of touring, you think, with Whitesnake? Are you going to possibly do a tour for running games? I mean, I know you can't really sort of make any plans right this minute, but, you know, people are scheduling, you know, dates over in Europe right now in hopes that things open up. What would you like, I guess? What's your ideal post-pandemic plan if you had one?
Well, I mean, I'd love to just get out and play, man. At this stage of the game, I'm beggars can't be choosers. So I'll take whatever I can get. I mean, I would love to. I think once it does open up, everybody's going to be back out. So it's going to be really hard for me to get all these guys and be like, hey, let's tour. So Russell will be out with Symphony X, I'm sure, as soon as it's possible. And I'd imagine, you know, what Vinny's got last in line. And but hey, I'd love to do something. We did play once on the Monsters of Rock cruise in support of Dying to Live. So hopefully that happen and maybe a little run around it would be so fun. So, well, who knows, man? You never know.
True. No, I hear. Are you currently doing any of the music right now, writing or anything for any of the bands you're in right now?
Well, I got the side project coming up with Michael Sweet and Nathan James that is going to be coming out on Frontiers as well. So I just got riffs into Michael for that. And I'm writing a song, co-writing a thing or two with my friend Jim Peterick right now for an album he's producing for Frontiers. So just staying busy. And I seem to get, I would say, about 3-4 sessions a week where I play solos or rhythms on people's songs. And it just really as a guest on their albums or whatever. And outside of that, a lot of teaching and a lot of cameos, and I would say a lot of the quarantine videos. There's a Shred compilation coming out again that I'm a part of, and I got a kind of a cool, like, bigger name quarantine jam thing I'm putting out, producing right now. So that stuff's just fun, and it helps keep us motivated and excited about playing music, and just, you know, the more the merrier with all this stuff, man, to get us through the tough times, right? So I would say, honestly, I'm busier now than the years when I've been touring a lot, because that's a lot of, like, you know, I'm out in hotel rooms or traveling, but there's downtime, you know, outside of when I tour with TSO. That's like, there's no downtime on that tour. But with Whitesnake, you know, we do like 4 shows a week or something like that. So there's some downtime where you're hanging out. And right now, man, very little downtime, especially, you know, doing the dad thing too at home, man. Oh, wow. You know, I got it all mixed together right now. So,
well, that alone will keep your hands full for sure, you know?
Yeah, definitely, brother, definitely. But, you know, I'm just trying to make the best of all of it. And it's the philosophy is always the same about just trying to be productive every day. If you just keep doing that and just don't worry about all this other stuff, man, you know, like, I'm not sitting around waiting to go back to playing live. Like, I think some musicians are taking that approach. I'm just like, no, we got to stay busy. Like, I mean, this is going to last a long time. I can't sit around and burn 1.5 years of my life in terms of, like, what I can do productively, just, you know, being like, oh, well, when touring resumes, so, I mean, you know, I'm making the best of it, man, for sure. And just thinking about moving forward always.
Awesome, man. Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, what else can you do, right? But it's great to hear you're busy because, you know, musicians we do talk to, it's like you said, they're in that position where they're just so itching to get out there and play that, you know, maybe sometimes they're not taking advantage of this time, the free time that they have that they usually don't have when they're out touring. So that's great to hear. Well, definitely to the listeners, Running Games, great release. It comes out February 12th. Joe, why don't you go ahead and let the listeners know where they could find you on social media as well as where they can check out and pick up a copy of the new record.
Okay. I think you have my name actually and the banner streaming at the bottom, which is super helpful because I've got a difficult name. You can just go to my .com. JoelHoekstra.com would be great. JoelHoekstra.com. And you can, from there, link over to watch the videos, pre-order the album, or you know, check out anything on my, basically on my career. David Coverdale calls it my Encyclopedia Britannica. He's very impressed with the detail on my website in terms of how much is on there.
There's a lot on there. I know there sure is, man. It is like an encyclopedia. I agree with him, man. It's quite impressive. Absolutely. Well, Joe, man, we really appreciate you coming on. Good luck with everything with the new record. And yeah, man, hope to see you on the road sooner than later.
Dude, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time out.
Absolutely, Joe. Take care, buddy.
All right. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to Aftershocks. For more episodes, go to our website at www.aftershockspodcast.com. Visit us on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more news and information on the podcast. And be sure to subscribe, listen to, and review all episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other podcast platforms. For your music listening pleasure, visit our website or go to www.shockwavesradio.com. For all comments and questions, please email us at info@aftershockspodcast.com.
All right, everybody, another great interview right here on Aftershocks TV. And before we go, just want to remind you one more time, make sure you get over and subscribe to the CMS Podcast Network, cmspn.com. You can watch, you can listen, you can subscribe to everything that we do, not only us, but the classic metal shows, Shockwave Skull Sessions, Talk to Me. It's all there, one site, get 4 great shows, never have to do anything again but be entertained. So check it out, cmspn.com, cmspn.com, cmspn.com. Until next time, folks.